Thomas, it's up for grabs now!
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira!
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it!
Fabulous solo goal by Thierry Henry.
Champions.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Arsenal Lounge. A big, how do we say this? It's Ramadan Mubarak, is that right, Mo?
Yeah, got it back
Ramadan
on.
Mubarak to everyone that's Muslim and going through the Ramadan right now. Big hello to everyone that's going to be coming in the chats. Before we sort of get into things, again, as usual, we'll say a big hello to the panelists. So I'll start with Rodegaard first. With his new signage in the background. Look at that. He's
not bad.
No, it's not bad, is it? You need to dim the lights and have that on. That's what you need, mate.
I feel like, yeah, but then, you know, I feel like I'm just taking over then. It's like a TGT takeover.
I'm not saying for this particular show. I'm saying in the future, dim the lights because I've seen it. If you maybe dim it, make it a bit romantic.
If I dim the lights, though, it's too bright. Like, it just glares. So, yeah.
I want to see it on.
Yeah, who wants to see it on? Let's get it. Dim the lights and let's see it on. Cool, we've got nothing better to do with our time. Oh, look at this.
Oh, there you go.
TGT takeover. There you go.
Very snappy.
Good to see you today, Tom. And a big hello to Mo as well. How you doing, bro? Are you stuffing your face, I bet?
Yeah, man. Fasting. So 4 days down, I think it is now.
Yeah.
So just stuff my face quickly so I could get here for 8 p.m. So that's commitment, man.
It's my first one. I'm doing it this year. So I might have to take some tips off you because I haven't quite nailed it yet and I was struggling a bit.
Right,
but,
okay.
Yeah, I'll have a chat to you offline later on. You can give me some tips.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
But anyway, in the meantime, obviously there's been a 2-week break from the Premier League for this international break, should we say. So I thought we'd start with a little like an international watch, like players that have been going away on international duty and how they've been performing. And then I want to talk to you, Tom, about an article of yours on Declan Rice, which I found pretty interesting. We'll go on to that and we'll look at a few other things. But firstly, obviously, some of the England players have been away. In particular, Saka have been away for England. Odegaard has been playing, obviously, for Norway. And Partey's been away for Ghana. Now, has Belgium been playing as well? I don't know if I've noticed that.
Yeah, but they did play.
Yeah, was Trossard away as well?
He was involved.
That's one I haven't looked into, so you might be able to help me with that, guys. But firstly, we'll start with England. So obviously, 2 games away to Italy first, which, mate, it was quite a resounding win, to be fair. First half could have been 3-up. I still can't get over that miss by Grealish. It was ridiculous. How much has he paid? And he misses that sitter. But then they came back into the game second half, Italy. Made it a bit tougher than it should have been. Then home to Ukraine. Pretty compulsory win that. In the first half, 2-0. Could have been more. Second half, we kind of saw out, went through the motions. But in particular, what I was interested in was performances of Saka. Obviously, on the other side, you had our man Zinchenko playing for Ukraine. That was interesting to watch. But I'll start. Did you guys watch the game at all? Mo, did you watch it? Was it worth asking?
No, do you know what? It's funny because when I do a podcast, I like to think that I can bring some value and have some insight, maybe some stats or a personal experience being at the game or something like that. So I like to think that I can actually add some value. And today,
speaking of value, I don't think you're getting much out of your wireless. Every time he comes on, everything's fine, and the minute he starts talking, it cuts off. You need to have a word with your internet providings, as they would have said in Phone Jacker.
In Phone Jacker, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear me now. Hear me now. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hear me now. So I am actually going to call them up. This is really doing my head in. And it doesn't. Do you know what's annoying? It doesn't happen in work meetings when I might need an excuse to get out of a difficult question. Happens in flipping podcasts.
Now you've got that lip sync issue that you used to get in those old kung fu movies as well. So that's quite interesting as well. But at least we can hear you. Yeah, that's all. So I'll have to rely on Tom on this then. Tom, I'm sure you watched the game because you are vigilant. You do your research as a journo. So obviously, Saka, an assist and a goal. What a goal that goal was, by the way. But what did you think of his performance? I mean, it's 15 games he's played now. He scored 9 goals for England. It's 9 goals in 15 games. He scored 2. He's 2 games in the Euro qualifiers. He scored a goal, I think, when he first started. World Cup qualifiers, out of 5 games, he scored 3. And in the World Cup itself, 4 games, he scored 3 goals. So this Euro qualifiers, he scored 1 goal in 2 games and an assist. So the kid just keeps getting better and better, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I've got, according to Transfermarkt, it's 8 goals in 26 games total and 7 assists. So you're looking at he's averaging a goal contribution less than one every 2 games.
I don't know where I got my stats from.
Yeah, I don't know where 9s come from, but that's what
I found. Yeah,
fair enough. Maybe Transfermarkt's wrong. But yeah, no. It's a case with England that we don't really have, and this isn't a slant on Saka. England don't really have another right winger. You know, you think about Jarrod Bowen's probably the only obvious one. I know Foden could arguably play there as well. But no matter who was even challenging Saka, it wouldn't matter because he just is by far arguably the best right winger in the world right now. I'm trying to think of another right winger. Ousmane Dembele's had a very good season for Barcelona. But I'm thinking of, anyone else. And you've got Mahrez that doesn't play regularly enough nor performs at a level of Saka as this season. Anthony is kind of a joke of a player. You're looking elsewhere and I'm struggling. Valverde plays on the right for Real Madrid quite often. But, I don't necessarily class him as a right winger, even though he's playing there for Real Madrid. So I don't necessarily think there is anyone that comes up to scratch with Saka this season. And I think he has just been absolutely brilliant and was by far the man of the match in that game for England. It was frustrating to see him play the full 90 in that.
I know, you've said that a few times. It's wound you up, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has wound me up. I've had people in my comment section saying that I don't need to get as frustrated about it as I do, but it's just because I don't have that affinity with England like I do with Arsenal in the same way. I'm not an England fan like I'm an Arsenal fan, so my loyalties will always lie with my club. So it does get frustrating when you see him used for 90 minutes, getting hit hard in the tackles and stuff like that. It's, and I'm not a big fan of Southgate either, so that doesn't tend to help.
Neither am I, to be honest with you. I think we could, with this current crop, if we don't win,
should be doing better.
We should. Yeah, if we don't win a major tournament, it's going to be a travesty because, like you've mentioned, I mean, who's better than Saka? Now, there's a question I can ask then, and Mo, you can come in on this even though you haven't watched the game because you don't really need to know about a game, and everyone keeps asking about where Shaheen is. Do you know how many messages I've had in comments? Where's Shaheen? There's this conspiracy theory going around right now that we're hiding the situation, and I've told everybody Shaheen is away on business. Is in a country that the Wi-Fi is almost as bad as Mo's, not quite, and it's just unpredictable. So, and the time zone is different as well. So stop making up conspiracy theories. But going back to the Saka situation, obviously there's been a lot of debates online on Twitter and various other social medias about Saka's world-class tag. Is he world-class? But there's a question here. If you're saying there's no better right winger in the world right now, Tom, this is your words, and I'd have to agree with you.
Have some breaking news if you want it on Saka. Do you want some breaking news?
Is he signed? What? Go on.
£300,000 per week contract.
Is it agreed?
According to Sammy Motbell, Saka is set to earn £15 million a season when he signs his new Arsenal deal.
Jeez. 300k at 21 years.
£300,000. That's including bonuses. That's all bonuses included. That's not his base rate transfer.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine then, Tom.
So it's like 250 or something, and then everything on top.
I have no idea how it breaks down, but yeah.
Careful because we could have the whole Ozil scenario.
Very reliable.
So, yeah. Wow. 21. This kid is living the dream, isn't he? He just can't do anything wrong right now. I mean, he's gone through his tough time when he missed the penalty, and it seems to just only made him stronger. But going back to this question then, I've seen a lot of social media guys saying Saka's not world class, is constantly doubting him. Now, if what Tom's saying, Mo, if what Tom's saying is correct, that there's no better right winger than him in the world right now, which I tend to agree with, does that make him world class?
Well, there's two different things. You're saying, is he world class? Not is he world class right now? And you're saying Tom said that there's no better right winger in the world than him right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm asking if there's no one better than him.
Yeah, but there's the current labels you might want to give someone, and then kind of like the general labels. So, Mohamed Salah, is he world class right now? Probably not. Is he world class? 100% yes, absolutely. So Saka's the opposite. I'd say that he hasn't been doing it for years and years and years at this current level to basically say blanket world class. But is he playing to a world class level right now? Absolutely yes. Do I think he'll go on to be kind of accepted universally as world class? Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, these things don't bother me, man. People can say what they want about him. It doesn't make him any better or any worse. The world class thing is obviously very subjective. I don't know if Arsenal have got even a single player that the wider footballing community would say is world class. But a lot of Arsenal players are playing to a world class level this season, which is why we find ourselves where we are.
So, not quite world class yet. You think needs to be more consistent, but playing at a world class level?
No. This season, he has played to a world class level.
But overall, you're saying he's not reached that sort of tag of world class fully, like Salah, for example, who's claimed that level.
But Salah has done ridiculous things. Like Salah's undeniably. I'm just giving a very different example. I'm not trying to compare Saka to Salah in any way. Over the years, Saka's at the start of his career. We always knew he had levels to go through, and also he's played in different places for Arsenal. Only like for about 2 seasons has he been right wing is mine. Otherwise sometimes he'd come off the left, etc., until the penny really landed for people in terms of where he should play. So listen, I don't want anyone to misconstrue it as me not celebrating Saka. Of course I am. He's playing to a world-class level this season. But, when you talk about world-class players, how many of them exist on the planet? It's a very exclusive club. You have to do a lot for a long time consistently to prove that. So I think Saka he could do no more in the time he's had available to him than he's already been doing.
Interesting. Now, Tom feeding me some information secretly, very kindly as well. So he's broken it down for us. So although it sounds a lot of money, 300,000, it's a 10 million a year plus bonuses that add up to 15 million. So it's 192k per week guaranteed plus bonuses. Right, Tom?
Yeah, so that's, Gabriel Jesus is on around £220,000 per week, but I think that's also including bonuses. Partey's on around 200, I think, as well. So he still, I think, will become the highest paid player at the club. But yeah, it's not, obviously you see 300, you think Aubameyang, you think Ozil breaking that 300 barrier, but actually in reality, it's I say significantly less. It's not in the grand scheme of money, but it's not going to be as crazy. But you can already see the £300,000 per week tags that are going to be put next to him already.
Yeah, you can see the mayhem it's going to cause on the socials. Everyone's going to just look at that 300 figure and it's all going to kick off. But good news that it sounds like that's happening. I was listening to TalkSport earlier on. I think it was Darren Bent, and they were saying, look, we need to get this guy signed. And lo and behold, here we are, sticking up. Looks like we're going to get him signed up. So that's great news. Then we had, who else did we have? We had Odegaard away, playing for Norway against Spain. Now, who watched that game? Either of you? Is it not even worth asking, Mo? No, Mo didn't watch it. So, Tom, you watched the game?
I watched the Ukraine game, but that was it.
Okay.
So,
Did either of you see the challenge that Rodri put in on Odegaard?
yes.
Mo, have you seen it?
No.
Have a
Yeah,
look at
awful.
it. Awful.
I'll find you a link, man.
Awful challenge. I know Mo likes to search for links. So look, I heard he had a good game. I didn't watch the game myself. I heard that should have been a blatant penalty. From what I've seen, that's a blatant penalty that wasn't given. They played back the actual replay of the incident after the game. I think when he was being sort of interviewed, and let's just say he wasn't very happy. Now, rumors, Rodri, was it deliberate? Was it to try and take him out for the rest of the season? Tom?
It's a terrible challenge. it's so hard, isn't it, to speculate and say, oh, clearly there was ulterior motives behind what Rodri's doing there. It's very easy to put two and two together and get that. But it's a horrible challenge. In short, like it's worthy of certainly a penalty. I'm not sure if it's red card worthy. If you start opening red cards up for those challenges, I think you start seeing a lot more red cards than we currently have. But it's one of those orange ones that we talk about. I think it's fair to say, where a yellow doesn't really constitute the right level of punishment, but a red is arguably a bit harsh. But a lot of Arsenal fans have obviously gone to that stage where they think that it's certainly malicious and there is an ulterior motive behind it. I hope that's not the case. The good person in me hopes that it's just a mistimed challenge in the box from Rodri and he's gone in very hard. But it's obviously easy to draw those lines. But yeah, would be rather libelous to claim that that's what Rodri was doing.
I didn't make up these rumors. They're just being circulated. I mean, you cannot argue that one of the most irreplaceable players at the moment is Odegaard, isn't he? Yeah, I mean, the way we play, he everything ticks over through him. Odegaard. So exactly. But look, the good thing is so far, Saka, Odegaard, both seem like they've come out without any injuries. And then we had Partey playing for Ghana. They've played two back-to-back. I think they've played Angola today as well, away. Ghana. I think they drew 1-1 away today, and they beat Angola 1-0 in Ghana. Now, I've heard that he played. Apparently, Ghanaian fans, they're saying he's getting better and better for Ghana, and he's played one of the best games they've seen him play this season. I don't know if that's true because I can't profess to have watched it, but apparently he was amazing. And he's coming back again, injury-free, touchwood. Didn't play today, by the way. It seems there's been a message put out from Arsenal who sent out their physio out there with him as well, didn't they? They've
one of the physios,
yeah, one of the physios has gone out with Partey to make sure he didn't get injured. And for some reason, I don't know if this is under instruction, but Partey didn't play today. So that's good news for us as well. So, I mean, everyone so far is coming back fit as a fiddle. ESR played for the under-21s, scored a goal. He's getting fitter. Vieira played for Portugal under-21s, along with Nuno Tavares, who's on loan. I'm not sure. I mean, they beat Romania 2-0. I'm not sure how Vieira played in that game. But again, seems like he's come out of that injury-free. So everyone is looking pretty solid at the moment, and we're pretty happy with that. Now, what I did want to come back to the England game was the little scenario that happened after the game. Zinchenko obviously did his best. He had a decent game, but it's very difficult to play and have an influence when the rest of the team is not up to par with the competition. But there was a little scenario that everyone's been looking into, another conspiracy theory put out by the Arsenal fans, that you see Odegaard speaking to Rice after the game, and some people are suggesting that he's mouthed the words, "Are you joining us?" To Rice's response is, "Yeah, I'm coming next season." So this is interesting, but this is why I wanted to use that scenario with Declan Rice, because we're heavily linked with him. Obviously, his family is heavily linked with Chelsea. He's a Chelsea fan, man and boy. His family are Chelsea fans. But obviously, it appears from what I've been reading that Jack Wilshere is very close with Declan Rice. During his time at West Ham, they become very friendly. He's been feeding back to Rice that, what Arteta's doing is amazing. That seems to have piqued Rice's interest, and that's where all the rumours are coming from. So I wanted to just have a quick sort of discussion on this, because I read your article, Tom, because since the Caicedo and Lavia rumours have started to circulate, there's these people coming out, fans are coming out suggesting that Rice is overrated. Before I go on to you to break down the stats, Mo, what do you think of Rice as a player in comparison to Caicedo, Lavia? Who would you prefer out of that trio?
Rice over out of the three for sure. I'm very very clear on that. But it goes back to that same conversation we were just having about Saka. Is he world class or not? So let me ask you that about Declan Rice. Is Declan Rice world class or not?
Not. I would have to say not yet.
Yeah.
I'd have to take the same tact as you. Is he playing to the same levels as Saka that you could say that's the same sort of thing though at this precise moment in time?
I think Saka's playing to a completely
Another
different
level.
Saka's like, top 3 players in the Premier League sort of level this season. Rice isn't that. I like Declan Rice a lot. I do think he's a really, really good player, but he's not world class. While someone like Jude Bellingham, honestly, I look at him and I just say, yeah, he's world
Wow,
class.
19 years old. That kid's amazing.
He's ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. And also, I look at the fact that in the January transfer window, we didn't attract one of our top targets. So we didn't get Mudryk, thankfully, for 90 million. We didn't get Caicedo for, I don't know, what was it, 60, 70, 80, whatever the figures were being touted. So that means we've got money in the bank. Now, add that to the money that we'll have in summer, the additional incremental money we'll have in summer. Add that to the fact that we'll be in the Champions League. And you think to yourself, we could either go and strengthen a few positions or just go hard on one area. And the thing will be hard to compete on is wages, because if Liverpool, Man City, etc. are interested in Bellingham, they'll be giving him money that will make Saka look poor, make Saka look like he's living in a cost of living crisis. So that's going to be the thing that we're going to struggle on. But I'd like to go and get Bellingham. And for me, that it's hard to get excited about Rice when you think about Bellingham. If Bellingham, if he had signed a pre-contract, like for example, Nkunku is going to Chelsea in summer, right? It's already signed, and delivered. Now, so he's out of my mind. Otherwise, I'd be looking at someone like him thinking he's a really good player. Perhaps he could strengthen our forward area. So Bellingham, if that had already been done with him with Liverpool, for example, then I'd be excited about Rice. But as long as Bellingham is on the table, he's my dream signing.
Fair enough. I'll tell you what, since I started this fasting, I'll get excited about Rice on a daily basis. But coming back to you then, Tom. Right, so what is this with regards to Rice? Is he as good as the others that have been mentioned? Is it just that he doesn't have that sort of pizzazz maybe that others do, but he's just quietly more efficient? I'd like you to sort of bring to the forefront what you sort of put together in this article, because I found it immensely interesting and quite revealing, because you wouldn't look at it like that just using your eyes, but your stats tell something different. So if you'd like to enlighten some of the loungers in the chat of what you sort of found during your sort of research and putting together this article.
Yeah, I mean, it's based around like any discussions, any debate around which midfielder Arsenal should go for. I agree with Mo. Like the best midfielder on the market in the summer will be Jude Bellingham. And if anyone can get hold of him, it's a huge plus to your team. Man City, if they've got any sense, will be trying to spend all their riches on him. And if Arsenal had the money, I'd be telling them to do it. Indications are that they feel they don't have the financial side to do that deal, which is a shame. Maybe if we were talking about Bellingham in 2 years' time and Arsenal had established themselves where City are, we could be talking about Bellingham, which is a shame. But yeah, maybe it'll be the next one that comes along. But Rice for me is the next. I say next best option because he's not the same position as Bellingham. They play together in the England team, and Rice is playing at the 6. Bellingham's playing ahead of him. I think Rice can play as a 6 and an 8. I think he can occupy both those two positions. I think he can play with or instead of Partey. So that's a bonus for us as well. But the idea around the piece was that I was getting so frustrated with the idea, and I think it is, in short, it's laziness with the term technical ability. This term gets thrown around all the time, or a player's not technically good enough. And it's like, as soon as you say those words on social media, it's like the other person, you have to accept that they're not technically good enough because it's just a broad term without too much. Now, to me, if you're talking about the technical ability of a player, you're talking about how good they are on the ball. You're talking about their quickness of thought. You're talking about how well they take players on, beat a man, move in short spaces, carry the ball. Even your passing comes into technical ability as well, because you have to have that technical skill to feed the ball in the right way, find the right pass, feed it in a certain direction. All of the technical ability is so broad that I thought, actually, why don't we just take a look at kind of some of the areas of the game that relate to that in comparison to some players that often he's compared to and stylistically is kind of looked down upon. So Caicedo and Lavia at the moment, kind of two names that a lot of fans in the Premier League obviously really like and are often really praised for their technical ability. So when it comes to successful take-ons per 90 in terms of taking on man, Rice wins 51.4% of those take-ons. Caicedo's at 48.4, Lavia's at 43.4. When talking about how progressive distance with the ball, Rice is at 136.7 yards per game. Caicedo's at 78, nearly half of that, and Lavia's at 71. In terms of miscontrolling the ball, no, technical ability, being able to take that touch, bring the ball under control. Miscontrols, Rice 0.65 per game. Caicedo 1.16 per game. Lavia 0.92 per game. Talking about progressive passing into the opposition's final thirds, 6.65 progressive passes for Rice, 5 for Caicedo, 4.41 for Lavia. Just passes progressively per game, 6.69 for Rice compared to 6.38 for Caicedo and 4.1 for Lavia. And then talking about more defensive side of his game, which we're moving away from the technical side, but he comes out really well in terms of dispossessing dribblers, in terms of clearances, in terms of interceptions, in terms of aerial duels. He's really good for that. So if we talk about our set pieces, him being available to win more aerial duels than Caicedo and Lavia in the box is going to be an extra kind of feather to our cap in defending these. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a whistle-stop tour, but it just kind of goes to demonstrate the lazy argument, in my view, of saying Rice isn't technically good enough, just doesn't really stack up when you look at the numbers related to the players that we're then told are technically good enough to be Arsenal's next midfielder.
So there you go. The guys that are sitting there.
Dev,
go on.
Can we just appreciate that absolute dissection of that argument? Because that was good. I have to say, that was good.
If you haven't read the article, go on football.london. It's a great little article. It breaks it all down for you. Do yourselves a favour and give it a read, because this is proof that, you know, we could sit there as fans thinking, oh, this guy looks better. Maybe he looks a bit more dynamic. Maybe Caicedo's a bit more athletic and dynamic. I don't know. But more eye-catching. But it seems that Rice is quietly more efficient. And that's where we're getting with this. And let's be honest, pro clubs look at the stats, don't they? They break everything down. Numbers don't lie. And clearly, this says to me, Rice would make perfect, you know, a perfect fold for someone like Partey if injured, and can play in the other position, as Tom rightly mentioned. Either can play or switch, maybe. I don't know how they're going to work it, but I personally think it would be an excellent addition to our squad.
But can I ask you a question, both of you then?
Yeah.
If Rice comes in, who comes out of our starting 11? As in,
I would be inclined to say Xhaka.
Yeah,
right.
I think it would be Xhaka.
That's not where Rice is really, like, you know, that's not where he's deployed for England. He's more defensive. He's in the Partey role for England. He's obviously Bellingham's further up. And so Tom, when you were giving your analysis there, defensively, Rice is really, really good, and he's doing really good work. But in the final third, which Xhaka ends up getting in the final third positions, he scored back-to-back recently for Switzerland. He's got a goal and an assist, and obviously a yellow card, as Xhaka does in his recent international. I'm not sure, and I'm not saying I don't think he can do it. Perhaps he can, but I just haven't seen him consistently perform in that final third because of the position that he's playing in. So Partey obviously doesn't need to get out the team. I am actually more interested next year in an upgrade on Granit Xhaka, because whilst I think Granit Xhaka's had a brilliant season, I think we can certainly improve on him. So, for example, Milinkovic-Savic, if we were to go and get someone like him, let's say, for example, if Bellingham's not available, then I think he makes the team better. But if you're taking Partey out of the team for Rice, I think you're making the team worse. I rank Partey higher than Rice. So it's a bit of a difficult one, because, yes, Rice might be available and achievable for Arsenal whilst Bellingham is not. But then you're actually putting Rice in a position that he hasn't been playing in and smashing it in, which is a bit of a weird thing to do. You know, are you getting someone because they're available, or because they're definitely the right man for that right position in your team that's going to strengthen your team?
Would we have thought Xhaka could play in that position before we played in that position?
Absolutely not. No. And you're right. So who's to say Rice can't?
Who's to say? I
think that the presence of Champions League football next season as well, you know, having to play a team which is as good as a starting 11 twice a week, you know, there's going to be plenty of opportunity, I think, for Rice and Partey to play. You know, you'll see Partey come off earlier in Premier League games, Rice coming on, or you'll see Rice playing with Partey. It just, I think, gives us so much more flexibility regarding selection, regarding choices in game. being able to say bring on Rice to either rest Partey, or say if you're leading a game, you can bring on Rice to reinforce with Partey or vice versa. I think it just gives us so much more. And if you look at like Man City and some of the things they do, some of the things Liverpool have done, they brought in, even though Sadio Mane obviously left in the following summer, they still brought Luis Diaz in when Mane was there. They brought Jota in as well already. It's that kind of reinforcement, those areas. The reason why Liverpool have fallen away is their midfield. They didn't do that to their midfield, ironically. So they've not necessarily done the Rice transfer when they've got an existing Fabinho there already. They haven't brought a player in that's going to give them that reinforcement. And then when injuries happen or when a lack of form happens, they've not got that player to come in. I think that midfield in particular is one of the big reasons why Liverpool have fallen off. So I think you're completely right to raise the point regarding, well, why would we bring in Rice to play in a position he's not necessarily playing in? But I think there are openings.
I do agree there are, but also in that versatility, right? I feel like a player being the box-to-box guy, being the defensive guy, or playing further forward, Bellingham can do them all better than Rice can do them all. And also Bellingham can do his specialism better than Rice can do his specialism. Same with Milinkovic-Savic. He can do them all better than Rice can do them all. Actually, do you know what? Maybe that's not fair. Maybe Rice is on his level on the defensive element, because Savic can do it all. But Rice is very good at that. So maybe I'm selling himself short there. But overall, in terms of being versatile, Savic can do it better. And, I just think that I do hear, and Ash has written in the comments that, Partey is aging and injury prone and other issues. But I feel like, there we go, that sort of thing, that Partey is on the older side of our team, and Rice comes in with that youth. But perhaps it would be beneficial for us to have a bit more experience, especially tough Champions League games away from home. So maybe a Milinkovic-Savic there would be a bit better. So look, you know what? It's an amazing problem for us to be discussing that. What if we sign Rice? And I'm saying that I wouldn't be excited, but I'm happy, and I would be very happy getting Rice, just not excited. I'd be excited about Savic. I'd be excited about Bellingham. So out of those three, it'd be Bellingham, Savic, Rice. And if we end up with Rice, I think we'll be very glad to have him. And he's got a very long, successful career ahead of him. So it's a very good situation to be in.
I mean, is there not an argument that maybe in away games you could play both? Sort of to give you a bit more solidity especially in the Champions League. And if one was to go forward out of those two, who would you prefer to be the one that goes forward? Because we have witnessed of late that Partey has got prowess on the edge of the box, can strike a ball. That volley, I've looked back at that volley recently. It's a phenomenal volley. It's unbelievable. And he's shooting.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Post, yeah, unbelievable strike. So who would you want going forward if you had both of them playing?
It's a great question, because I think there is an argument that Partey is capable of playing a little bit more advanced. I mean, I'd ask the question, why can't you coach both of them to operate fluidly?
Yeah.
So that at times, when Rice goes forward, Partey recognises that and sticks. When Rice sits, Partey goes forward. I think you can coach it. And I certainly would back Arteta with the way in which he's developed Zinchenko, he's developed Xhaka into these roles. Ødegaard's changed his role since he first came in. I would back them to be able to do that. And then you can go to places like the Etihad or Anfield, where both of them are more disciplined and they sit. And you allow the forward 4 players instead of the forward 5 players, or you add Zinchenko to that fold to make it 5, to be that bit more expressive, and you've got a greater foundation. The amount of times that we saw Man City under Pep go to places with Rodri and Fernandinho in the team before Fernandinho left. So I think there are options.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
I saw that Rodri tackle, by the way, unbelievable, and how a pen wasn't given, crazy.
Madness.
Aren't you now a little bit stressed? Oh my God, he could have been injured. Ødegaard could have been injured in that tackle.
Yeah, I mean, international breaks are just stress for me, especially when Arsenal are doing as well as we are. With Saka, obviously, incredible goal that he scored and brilliant assist as well. But, I'm seeing other players get subbed off, and I'm like, for God's sake, why does Saka have to play 90 minutes all the time? Get him off. I don't care about England. So I just want Saka not to get injured.
I'll tell you what, though, there's another thing that we're discussing on TalkSport. Saka and his durability, the way he can take a lot of fouls and he doesn't get injured, touch wood, don't want to jinx it. But, when you compare it to some other players who are injured quite easily, Saka's proving that he's got some real strength as well.
That
But
Grealish factor, where Grealish just takes tackle after tackle and just gets up. Yeah,
just gets up. He just gets up. I mean, how many times have we said this season Saka doesn't get enough protection? But yeah, I mean, brilliant. Before we go on, just say a quick hello to some people in the chats. Ash, hello, mate. Neil, Tired Gunnosaurus, Tavarelli, the grumpy Dave Jordan. I've seen some of your comments. Grumpy, mate. Come on, cheer up. Doug, there's a few. Paul, all you guys, please smack the likes. Do us a favor. It does help the channel. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. So moving on, guys. Another interesting one I wanted to throw at you. Hopefully, Mo says yes to this one, right? Has anyone watched the Comeback Stronger documentary with Gabriel Jesus? He's going to say no. He's going to say no again. Tom,
I've watched episode 1. I still need to watch episode 2.
Well, I've watched all 3. They're available on YouTube now.
Is there 3 out now? I've only watched the first one.
Oh yeah, all 3 are out.
That's my midnight watching then sorted.
Yeah. Brilliant documentary. For those of you who don't know, Come Back Stronger, the Gabriel Jesus story they're easy to watch. They're very short. They're about, I think the longest one is about 19 minutes. The first one's only 11 minutes. But it documents the time that he gets injured and he's come back and how they rehabilitate him and how he's reacting to our performances from his perspective, which is quite interesting to watch, especially some of those really tight games. That the Bournemouth game when we were 2-0 down, he's in the stands watching that. He's thinking, oh no, we're going to throw this away. The City game when we did lose, it did hurt him. You could see he cares, but also some of the rehab techniques and the machines that they use really, I don't want to give you guys any spoilers here, Tom and Mo, but there's actually a machine that when he was injured that's capable of lifting him off the ground with air so that he's not putting full weight on his knee when he's running. So it lifts him off, so he's only running at 60% of his body weight, but he still gets the feeling of running so that he starts to build his confidence back of movement in the joints. So if you guys haven't watched it, it is really interesting watch. And also the camaraderie, he actually asks the physios and Arsenal to do his rehab during the time the rest of the players are there, so that he could still be part of it and still talk to the players. They've got a real family feel, these guys. So it is something worth watching. If you haven't watched it, please do so. There's a question here for you, Tom. I'll throw it at you because I know we've got to get away sharp today. Diallo, thank you for watching, mate. For Tom, when does the next Eat Sleep Arsenal podcast come out? I miss it so much. Hope soon, he says.
Wednesday morning.
There you go. There's your answer there. Let's a quick one here. Sky High. Thomas Partey didn't play today. Is everything okay with him? Yes, he is fine. Here's one for you, Mo. What's your thoughts on Zubimendi instead of Rice? Do you know who Zubimendi? No. Have you watched Zubimendi? Have you watched anything, Mo?
Listen, man, I'm a dad, so I don't get time for it as much as I want.
I know. I've been there.
I have not seen him enough at all. And for me, always as well, like it's one of those ones where if I had ended up seeing Zubimendi, then it would have been because he's doing so unbelievably well that what I'm about to say might not be a factor. But Premier League experience, that's one thing that I think is really, really important, especially just to hit the ground running and minimize any risk of a player not adapting to the rigors of this league. So where I can get Premier League proven, I'll always go for that. But like I'm saying, Savic, Bellingham, they're exceptions. They're playing to such an incredible level that you turn around and say, look, I'll be madly surprised if they don't survive in the Premiership.
Of course, Savic is available at the end of the season. He's not signing a new contract, is he? So there's talks of him going for 40 million, I believe, which is not a bad price tag for someone of his quality. Very quickly before we move on, Sakib Sheikh asks, what do you think, Rice or Caicedo? You must have joined us late, Sakib. So if you want to find out the answer to that, wheel it back up at the end of the show. And we have discussed that in full. And there's an article written by Tom on Rice himself and a comparison on football.london. Go read that article. It's an eye-opener for you. Right, so guys, we're going to go on to now the Premier League is back and it's getting to crunch time. Everyone keeps using the same analogy. 10 finals now we're facing. But look, we've got Leeds next at home. Now, before we start, I'm thinking this is a banker, but I've looked at Leeds' last 5 games. And obviously, the last game, they beat Wolves away 4-2. It's a surprise to me. I didn't realise that. I've got to admit, I'm sure Mo didn't watch it, but I didn't watch it either. But I did look at the results. 4-2, 2-2 against Brighton, 1-0 loss away to Chelsea, and a 2-0 loss away to Fulham in the FA Cup. So it might not be as straightforward as we think. Xavi Garcia's got them fighting, clearly. So I'd like to start with Mo on this. How are you feeling about this Leeds game? Obviously, Man City got Liverpool, haven't they? And hold on, Man City got a few injuries as well, haven't they? Is that right? Is Rodri out? Who's out? Is Foden's out? And I think Haaland's out, potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, unless they've been playing that.
Yeah, who the hell knows? Look, how do I feel about the Leeds game? I feel positive about that. You know, Leeds managerless at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. And, they're not exactly tearing things up this year. Arsenal are at home where we've got a great record. Leeds are 14th, though. And what that means in this crazy season is that anyone 12th and below is in a relegation scrap. There's 4 points separating 9 teams. So now we are at that stage of the season where everyone is going to be absolutely scrapping. Usually that might be like 4 or 5 teams. We're talking about 9 teams separated by 4 points. So every minute of every game for 9 teams, or until someone gets some distance, they're going to be really like playing with their heart on their sleeve. And, it's interesting, actually. There's a real cutoff in the league when you look at 11th place Aston Villa, 38 points, and then Crystal Palace on 27 points, going down to Southampton on 23. So it's very clearly those 9 that are all at risk. And every time Arsenal when we look at our remaining fixtures, we obviously focus on City away, Liverpool away, Newcastle away, Chelsea at home as teams that are doing well or traditionally big, difficult games. But actually, I haven't yet looked at our fixture list through the lens of, are we playing any of those 9 teams? Right now, you want to be playing Villa. You want to be playing, I was going to say, I looked at the table just a bit to think who's right in the middle was Chelsea. But, you want to be playing those teams that have got nothing to play for. And it's going to be tough. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet because we never flipping seem to do it. I think only 3 at home in the Premier League this season. So I've gone for 3-1. Let me remind you, Tom went for 4-0. Lev, you went for 3-0. So it feels like we're all confident. And given no injuries in the international break, there's nothing there that's happened that's there to dent my confidence.
Interesting. All right. And Tom, how are you feeling about it? And while I got you here, any news on Saliba?
No, there isn't, unfortunately. The club, as I said before, they're keeping things very quiet. We'll hear from Arteta Thursday, Friday regarding that. So hopefully he's been fine. There's not been a behind closed doors friendly. I spoke to a contact at my other club and was told that it would be unlikely because there's so many players away on international duty, even the youth players. There's a lot of youth players away on international duty, so it's just not really feasible, which is fine. It gives the players time to focus on Leeds, and that's what they certainly have been doing. Some players have been given some time off and have come back, ready now, and certainly the players from international duty are going to be coming back. But I'm feeling pretty good. Leeds might be without their best player. Gnonto limped off against, I think it was Malta, in their 2-0 win after 22 minutes. He's said to be a doubt. Maxi Verba as well, the Austrian centre-back, is also potentially injured for the game as well. It's the Athletics say they're both doubts for this weekend's game, but they're optimistic that they won't be long-term issues. So I don't know why they would risk them in the game against Arsenal. Make sure they're back and ready. It's interesting to see what we do. I don't want to panic you, but there has been a post on the Ghana FA Facebook page. Actually, Chris
Partey's injured.
Chris Hughton has confirmed Partey was not used against Angola as he had a small injury issue and they didn't want to risk him. Apparently his thigh was it his thigh? Yeah, his thigh was being bandaged. and his thigh. Yeah, so apparently he's had a thigh issue. Only said to be small, and it's meant that they're not risking him. So,
do we risk him
if you ever
against
want another
Leeds?
justification for Rice next season, that's probably it. Yeah,
Good point.
So-
Do we risk him against Leeds then?
I mean, if he's got a slight injury, I wouldn't. I don't think we need to. I think Jorginho is more than capable enough to anchor that midfield, save Partey, keep him fit and ready for Anfield. I think would be.
I'll say same goes for Saliba, surely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we've got that game coming up against Liverpool. In the meantime, Man City playing against Liverpool. So that could be a turning point. That we'll have to wait and see. It could be a massive weekend for us. Yeah, man, I'm just excited. So, look, another thing I wanted to discuss with you guys, and whilst we're here, there's about 15 minutes to go. It's non-Arsenal related. And let me know in the chats, by the way, what you think the result's going to be. And if you have any questions, drop them from now, because we are leaving 9 sharp today. We've got some things to do. But the guy's down the road. He's finally gone, isn't he? Conte. So they've decided to have an interim manager in his place till the end of the season. And they're still going for top 4. And there's some good managers available right now. So this is an interesting one for me. I know it's about the scum down the road, but let's discuss it, considering they thought they were going to be above us this season and we were miles behind and all sorts, and doing hip hop tracks about it. So Mo, I'll start with you first. Conte, he's gone. We knew he's wanted to go from a long time. I don't even think he wanted to sign for them, to be honest with you. I think he took the money. I think he was on 13 million a year. Imagine having a job, 13 million a year, and not wanting to do it. How bad is Spurs?
That is the power of Tottenham, yeah.
That is the power of Tottenham. They seem to be able to take winners and turn them into losers. So what do you make of this? They have decided not to replace the manager and just keep someone in temporary.
Well, it shows me that they've probably already got a clear vision on who they want to recruit next, and that person is probably either in a role. More likely, it's Julian Nagelsmann, who's not in a role because he's just been sacked by Bayern.
Strange sacking that, wasn't it?
Very strange, yeah, very strange. But actually, strange on the surface. But if you scratch the surface, not very strange, because he's fallen out with players. He's sort of been a bit. Maybe his focus has been questioned a little bit, where I think, maybe they expect, or football clubs expect, an obsessive, whilst Nagelsmann actually had a bit of a life. It was a bit of a...
But they're still in everything, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. But I mean, since the World Cup, their form has been awful, but they're still 1 point behind Dortmund, who are the leaders, because they lost to Leverkusen recently, I think it was, Bayern Munich. And that means Dortmund just pipped them. But the weird thing is, they've got the Klassiker coming up this weekend, I think, Dortmund-Bayern, where Bayern tend to win. They tend to, no matter where Dortmund are in the league, Bayern tend to rock up and win 5-0 or something. So that could put them top of the league. They've just knocked out PSG in the Champions League, looking out for the champion. And that's what I mean. So on the surface, it looks strange. But actually, he's had a falling out with Manuel Neuer, a rumor has it, this season, where, and he's shifted some backroom staff. There's all sorts of things where he's just had a bit of friction. So they've obviously gone and done that. And it just shows that, he was on very thin ice. So whilst things were absolutely perfect, they perhaps couldn't find the reason to get rid of him. But Bayern's form since the World Cup in the Bundesliga hasn't been perfect, and that's been their reason. But look, they've gone and replaced him with Thomas Tuchel, who's a top-level manager, who's got experience of managing in that league. So Bayern will be fine, let's put it that way. But that means Nagelsmann will obviously fancy a crack at a Premier League team. And unlike Conte, he still needs to prove that he can go and win trophies and become a household name like the way Conte is, because Conte's done it and proved it at Milan, at Chelsea, for example, or Inter Milan rather, and Chelsea. So anyway, I think this is purely for that. Nagelsmann is not going to, probably doesn't have the appetite to just jump into a Tottenham role right now, where maybe the timing doesn't feel right. The last thing you want to do as a manager is come too soon, and then whilst things are very, very disrupted, probably wants to and I'm guessing he'd want to know certain things as well, like is Harry Kane staying? So they probably need to resolve all of those issues, steady the ship, and then go and get the right guy rather than jumping on whoever's available in the market at this moment in time, which I don't think is a sensible way to do things. So I'm sure they've got a plan, but like any Tottenham plan, it unravels and it ends in to dare is to do nothing at all. So I said it at the time when they got Conte, Tottenham's desire for failure is greater than Conte's desire for success. And that will mean that Conte will go without winning a single thing for Tottenham, and Tottenham will carry on being Tottenham. And that's what we've seen. I hope he got a huge payout and drained the reserves of Tottenham. And yeah, it's just another hilarious thing for Arsenal to laugh about. And Conte slating Tottenham before he left. It's just brilliant. Love to see it. Joke of a club. And they've also sacked their women's team manager as well. So 2 managers in the space of a week. They're a joke. They're a circus. I love it.
That's after they got spanked in the North London derby by the Arsenal women's team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go. It has been brilliant. Maybe for Spurs to dare is enough. To dare is to do, as it says. So I mean, daring is enough. But Tom, I'll come to you on this because I mean, Mo's just mentioned this is somebody, you know, rightfully so. This is somebody that's going to want to prove he can win trophies. Does that mean he's going to go Spurs? I mean they could be out of the top 4. They could not make top 4 by the time.
What better club to prove that you can win trophies than Tottenham? Because one trophy at Tottenham counts for 10 anywhere else.
They're like the poison chalice, aren't they? For any.
Yeah, you know, there's a big reason I think why. Look, Julian Nagelsmann is now available on the market, and they're choosing to wait until the end of the season. That's not through their choice. That's because that anyone they've approached during this, because they've known for a while that Conte is going to go. They've known for a while that they're going to have to move him on. So they would have been putting the feelers out. You know, they would have been certainly seeking a potential replacement, you know, in my opinion. So the fact that that's not taking place gives me a sinister, wry smile that, you know, it's because they've basically been turned down by people that they've approached at this stage. No. Because Spurs is, for the caliber of manager that they're going to be looking for, as you say, a poison chalice. It is.
I don't think so, Tom. I think, no, honestly, I think that managers might be waiting just to see whether they're going to be playing Champions League football, whether Harry Kane is going to be there.
Well, but other jobs are available as well. Maybe Potter could be gone by the end of the season, for example.
But I think Nagelsmann will take the Tottenham job. I do. Like, as much as I hate Tottenham, it's not so much about the club. It's just a case of Premier League. You get into that. That's where the money is. That's where all the world's attention is. You'll be living in London, earning mega money because he can ask for what he wants, basically, if he's the man that they've chosen. I think it's that.
That Nagelsmann has got a couple of hints that Potter may not last the season at Chelsea.
That's what I think.
Waiting. Yeah,
he's a Chelsea. He looks like a Chelsea signing to me, Nagelsmann. He really does. I wouldn't be surprised if Todd Bowley's already had a chat with him, because if you look at Spurs' squad, it's aging here and there, whereas. Look, you can't argue that Chelsea have bought a lot of quality. It's just a bit of a mess right now, and it's not really being put together. So personally, for me, if I was Nagelsmann, I'll be waiting to see if Spurs are out of the Champions League and Chelsea are out of the Champions League. I'd rather go to Chelsea than to Spurs. Put it that way. I don't know. Watch this space. Few questions here. Here we go. I'll ask Mo this and Tom. Lev, Mo, and Tom, all 3 of us. Fernie Segura, thank you for your question, mate. Is it wrong to want to take Kulusevski from Spurs? Mo?
No, it's not wrong. He's a decent player, but I mean, I look at him and I think to myself, like, at Arsenal, does he? I mean, obviously, doesn't get in the team. We've got Trossard on the bench. You know, if we have our full strength 11, Trossard's on the bench. And would I ever bring Kulusevski on over Trossard? No. So, you know, yeah, fine, I'll take him so we can keep the seat warm. But, you know, Tottenham's top players aren't good enough for Arsenal right now.
How do you feel about that, Tom?
Yeah, I'd take Kulusevski. It'd be hilarious. Yeah,
just for the hilarity, not because we can play him. For the hilarity,
he's good. Like I really underrated him in January of last year. I was like, oh, you know, Spurs have got him, and Bentancur, underrated both of them. I thought, oh, you know, they're okay players. You know, not really made it at Juve, but they came to the Premier League and have been really good, to be fair. So yeah, I would take Kulusevski.
Bentancur has really impressed me. Not gonna lie. Nick Hill asks, do you guys think the younger football fans are too focused on the transfer windows rather than the matches?
Yes.
100%. There's a reason why I get more views in the transfer window than any other time of the season.
It's
Any
crazy.
other time. Yeah.
I mean,
Madness.
the fact that we celebrate signings is hilarious, really, if you think about it, because there have been such good signings that are on paper great, but actually just flop, that you would have thought people would have learned by now. Look at Mudryk. Chelsea fans celebrating that. What's he done?
Good point. Here's a question to throw into the mix then. I don't know. I was reading Kenny Sampson Twitter very quickly before we go, and he suggested that Harry Kane would be a good signing for Arsenal. Gets to stay in London, scores loads of goals, more likely to win a trophy. Could Harry Kane be the next Sol Campbell?
I'd love that. I would love that. Harry Kane's world class. Simple as that. You know, people can say what they like about him. He's world class.
And he's a gooner, really, let's be honest.
And he would improve Arsenal. He would be our best striker if he came. He's second best striker in the league. You know, people might even have a difference between him and Haaland because of everything else that Harry Kane does. So, yeah, absolutely. He'd improve us. I'd love it. But I think Levy might not even let him leave for Chelsea or Man United. Never mind Arsenal. He might force him to go abroad.
What's the contract status with Harry Kane at the moment? Has he signed a new one?
Oh, I think he's got years left on his deal.
Oh, man, he's not going.
It's not like a 6-year extension or something. Yeah.
One last question before we go. I'll give this one to Tom. Neil D'Souza, who is our top 3 right wings we can go for competition for Saka? Good question, that Neil. Thank you.
I mean, off the top of my head, I'm struggling because you got to find someone that fits that mold that's going to be good enough to get into this squad, you know, and also someone that you're willing to say, you know, Marquinhos will be signed, you know, you're going to cut off his pathway if he's going to develop. You know, he's had a decent start to his loan spell at Norwich. Actually, he's done quite well in the Championship, and you got to find someone that's going to be relatively well priced, as I say, that's going to be happy to come into the team and play that role. It's tough to think of a player that's going to do that. People are asking for Moussa Diaby, but why would you spend 80 million odd euros on a guy that, you know, he's not going to play every week? I know that we're talking about that in the same context as Rice, but I think there are differences in those areas because you've already got Trossard, you've already got Martinelli can play on the right if you ever wanted him to. Nelson looks like he's in contract talks with the club. Marquinhos is coming through. You got Mario Koja-Duba, who's a really exciting young player in the wide areas coming through as well. You know, I just don't really get it. Xavi Simons is not a bad shout from Georgie in the chat. I like him a lot at PSV, but he's got links back to PSG. You've got a buyback clause there, so that's difficult. It's a really tough position, actually.
I'd say the Napoli guy, and I always forget how to pronounce his name.
Kvaratskhelia. More left, but yeah.
Well, I think he can probably play both. So I'm kind of being a bit, you know, and then Serge Gnabry, obviously, you know. He could do a job on the right wing, but it's tough.
Can I finish on one last one really quick? This is a great question from Diallo. Must have one this summer. Take one. Balogun or Eddie? Based on Balogun's season this season as well. If you had to keep one, which one would you keep?
Balogun. Yeah, it has to be. You know, the thing is, as Arsenal, we've kind of got everything that's come before that question. The point before that question is asked. And the fact that we've given Eddie the 14 shirt and the big contract, etc., it feels like he's further in his journey for Arsenal than Eddie. But the reality is, ask any other club in Europe, just out of those two, and there's no history there.
Great point.
They'd take Balogun.
Great point. 100%. Tom, very quickly, how do you feel about that?
Yeah. It makes sense to say keep Balogun. The only reason that pushes me away from that idea is if you get a really good offer for Balogun, I think Arsenal can reinvest in a striker that's arguably different to what we've got. I think Balogun's quite similar in a lot of characteristics to Jesus. You know, he's a lot more collaborative than Nketiah. And there's this Danish guy around that you may have heard of during the break called Rasmus Højlund. Ironically, similar name to Haaland. Yeah. Scandinavian, of course, as well. And he is looking quite special. And I don't think there's anything wrong with Arsenal going out for a centre-forward in the summer that's kind of stylistically different, that gives you the added physicality to the forward line, that gives you a different option. you know, and he's certainly someone that maybe if you were to say get a 40 million offer from someone for Balogun, that you go, you know, are we ever going to get a better offer than that if he comes back and barely plays? Probably not. So I'd be interested.
I'd get rid of Eddie, bring in Balogun, and I'd get that striker from Denmark.
Yeah.
Because personally, you're not going to
Yeah.
get 40 million for Eddie. What does that say? But anyway, it's 9 o'clock. We're going to go. Please smash the likes if you hadn't already done so. Put in the comments what you think the result's going to be. Keep your notifications on. And we've got some more shows hopefully coming up. You can see Tom on the Gooner Talk TV every morning at 8 a.m. Without fail. And Mo, you can get him on his 5 at 5 on his YouTube channel, and you can find him on Twitter at ArsenalMo8. So that's us. We're going to go now. This has been the Arsenal Lounge. See you on the other side. Come on, you Gunners, this weekend. See you later.